women's right not to die, this Supreme Court, referring to the current United States Supreme Court, has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact as well, close quote. Did you write that?
That sounds like me.
Okay. In November of 2024, you tweet, don't you?
I'm not sure what the current terminology is for it, but yes, I am sometimes on the social platform that was formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, you're on a
Chaos
lot.
erupts the moment Senator Kennedy locks eyes on the professor, and trust me, when truth enters the room, excuses scatter like leaves in the wind. Kennedy fires off questions like artillery, exposing contradictions, radical quotes, and years of ideological bias. The professor tries to dodge, dance, and deflect, but Kennedy keeps pressing because, as the old political saying goes, a shaky argument collapses under a steady question. By the end, even the room feels uncomfortable as the senator dismantles every claim with surgical precision.
Professor Franks, let me ask you, I listened to your and Ms. Hemingway's testimony and Professor Turley's, so I got part of it. As I understand it, your position, Professor Franks, is that, I think you used the word myth. It is a myth that the Biden administration used government to compel speech, private speech, but that the Trump administration is doing that. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Do you think perhaps you're allowing your personal political beliefs to affect your objectivity here?
No, I do not. What is guiding my answers here is that I'm looking to see what the Supreme Court has said. You notice that in the testimony about the censorship industrial complex.
I got that part.
No, I just
got
want
that
to
part.
clarify.
No, but I've only got 5 minutes. Your answer is no, as I appreciate it. Let me ask you a couple questions. You wrote a law review article in December of 2023 for the New York University Law Review, and it was about the two cases, Bruin, Supreme Court case, and Dobbs. Remember that article?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In this article, you said, I'm going to quote your words, "Taken together, these two cases demonstrate that the Supreme Court has embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy," end quote. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went on to say, quote, "When the Supreme Court declares that there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public, it openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those that they perceive as threats," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Thank you for reading.
Okay. And did you also say in that article, I'm going to quote again, quote, "by simultaneously expanding white men's right to kill and constricting women's right not to die, this Supreme Court," referring to the current United States Supreme Court, "has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact as well," close quote. Did you write that?
That sounds like me.
Okay. In November of 2024, you tweet, don't you?
I'm not sure what the current terminology is for it, but yes, I am sometimes on the social platform that was formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, you're on a lot, aren't you?
I'm not sure what the relevance of that is.
You try to be provocative on there, don't you?
Again, I'm not sure what the relevance
Well,
of this
let
question
me
is.
show you the relevance. On November 7th, 2024, from your tweet, here's one of your tweets at 2:41 p.m., quote, "The majority of Americans hate women. The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I am not sure what this has to do with the subject matter of this
Did you
hearing.
say it?
I do not have those words in front of me. I probably said something along those lines, but
Yeah,
what is
you
the
said it.
relevance of
Here
that
it
to
is,
this
big as
hearing?
Dallas, right there.
Yes.
But your political beliefs don't impact Your feelings about President Biden or President Trump?
I don't have feelings about either of them. What I have
Sounds
is
to me
doctrine.
like you have your favorite feeling is anger. Let me ask you this. You issued another tweet. This was in May of 2022. You've just been tweeting up a storm. You said, quote, "There's a reason why the conservative-dominated Supreme Court thinks the Constitution does not contain a right to an abortion, but is convinced that it contains an individual right to possess firearms. And that reason is white male supremacy," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
Is there a question in this?
Did I read that correctly? That's
Is there
my
a question that is relevant to this hearing?
Did I read that correctly? Do you really think that the United States Supreme Court, you're an officer of the court, is guided by white male supremacy?
I believe that the First Amendment prohibits the president
Did you
and other
say
state
that?
officials for punishing people for
Did
their
you honestly say that, Professor?
I
And you
believe
expect us,
that the First
as a
Amendment,
Democratic witness, to take you seriously? Are you kidding me?
I believe that you should take
You
the First
heard of
Amendment
curb your
seriously, sir.
enthusiasm? Here's my saying, curb my nausea.
Walking into that hearing, the energy in the room already felt electric, like everyone knew something big was about to happen. Senator Kennedy was seated, glasses down on the tip of his nose, flipping through a stack of papers like a man preparing to unload a legal thunderstorm. And the moment the professor began settling into her seat, I could practically feel the temperature drop. There's a political proverb that says, when a man carries the facts, the wind always blows in his direction. That wind was definitely behind Kennedy today. The senator didn't start with theatrics or shouting. He started with precision, the kind of quiet precision that makes the whole room lean in. "Professor, let me ask you." Those words might as well have been the starting gun. From that point on, the hearing became less of a discussion and more of a live dissection. He began walking through her claims about the Biden and Trump administrations, calmly pressing her to confirm her stance that the Biden administration never compelled private speech, but the Trump administration did. She tried to answer with confidence, but Kennedy wasn't asking for confidence. He was asking for consistency. And that's when the real heat began. Kennedy reached into the stack of documents and pulled out her own law review article, her own printed words. Not opinions about her opinions, not interpretations, her exact statements. When he read the line accusing the Supreme Court of transforming the Constitution into a tool of racial patriarchy, the professor stiffened. And watching her reaction, I was reminded of another political proverb. Those who wield dramatic language rarely expect to meet it again in daylight. But daylight showed up anyway. Kennedy kept going this time, quoting the passage, claiming that recognizing a right to armed self-defense privileges white men's ability to terrorize. She tried to maintain composure, but the room felt every second of that tension. He was reading her words back to her with such clarity that there was nowhere for her to hide. Then came the moment that made the entire room shift in their chairs. Kennedy pulled up her statement calling the Constitution a homicide pact, a phrase that lands like a grenade in a courtroom. She tried to laugh it off slightly, saying, "That sounds like me." But Kennedy didn't need a dramatic outburst. He simply paused, looked at her, and let the weight of her own rhetoric settle like dust in the silence. But the senator wasn't finished. He moved from published writing to her social media activity, and it suddenly became clear the professor wanted the focus back on constitutional theory. Kennedy wasn't letting that happen. He read her 2024 post accusing the majority of Americans of hating women, a statement so broad and inflammatory that the room visibly reacted, and the moment she tried to dodge its relevance, Kennedy leaned in with the kind of tone that only comes from decades of courtroom experience. "Heard of curb your enthusiasm?" he asked. "Here's mine. Curb my nausea." The room froze. But he wasn't just being snarky. He was making a point. A witness can't spend years blasting half the country, then sit in front of Congress and claim absolute objectivity. A political proverb says, if you sharpen your blade in public, don't be surprised when someone asks you to demonstrate its usage. Today, Kennedy made her demonstrate, and the blade wasn't nearly as sharp as she had advertised. She tried to argue that these tweets were irrelevant. Kennedy countered simply by holding them up, reading them, and allowing her own tone, angry, accusatory, sweeping to speak louder than anything he could have added. Her frustration grew. Her answers got shorter, her body language tighter. That's the thing about hearings. Pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it. And Kennedy's final line wasn't just a punchline. It was a message to the committee, to the viewers, and to the professor herself. Credibility is earned not by speaking loudly, but by standing consistently. And today, every inconsistency had been laid bare. Like the old saying goes, when a person builds an argument on sand, even a gentle tide will bring it down. Kennedy didn't bring a storm, he brought the tide. And by the end of that hearing, the entire structure of her testimony had washed away.